Elliot was just an ordinary human technician working on Harmony Station, a large orbital base floating between the trade routes of the Human Federation and the Sarai Union. Life there was quiet, filled with metal corridors, humming engines, and the endless view of stars that never seemed to blink. Most people who came to Harmony wanted a good job, a clean bed, and no trouble. Elliot was one of them. He liked his work. Fixing things made sense to him. Machines didn't lie or judge. They broke and you fixed them, simple. But people were complicated, especially aliens. And yet it was one alien who made his quiet, routine life suddenly feel different. Her name was Lyra. She was a Sarai, tall, elegant, and strange in the most beautiful way. Her skin had a soft shimmer under light, with pale blue markings that changed color depending on her feelings. Her eyes were like silver glass, calm and deep, and when she smiled, her markings glowed faint violet. Elliot always thought it looked like her emotions were painted on her skin, alive, honest, and impossible to hide. Lyra worked in the research wing, studying stellar radiation and energy fields. Elliot often helped fix the damaged consoles in her lab, and that's how it started. A few small conversations while he worked, a few laughs about how humans needed coffee to survive, and then, without realizing, he started looking forward to those small moments. He told himself it was nothing. Just friendship, just curiosity. But one evening, as he was repairing a light fixture, he caught her looking at the stars through the window. The reflection of the galaxy shimmered in her eyes, and her markings glowed a peaceful silver blue. Something in that moment made his heart stumble. He wanted to talk to her, not as a technician fixing her lab, but as Elliot, the man who stayed up thinking about what her laugh sounded like, or why her markings glowed differently every time he said something funny. He wanted to ask her out. It sounded crazy, even to him. No one asked a Sarai out. They were peaceful and kind, but distant. They shared knowledge, not feelings. Yet the more he thought about it, the more he felt he had to try. For 3 days he rehearsed it in his head. He even practiced in front of the mirror once and immediately regretted it when his coworker walked in. But when the moment came, he didn't have a speech prepared. He just followed his gut. It was late evening in the observation dome. The large glass panel showed 1,000 stars drifting like glowing dust. Lyra was there, leaning on the railing, reading from a holographic tablet. Her markings were calm silver. Elliot walked up beside her, holding 2 cups of hot cocoa from the human canteen. "Hey," he said softly. She turned, her markings shifting faint violet, the color she showed when amused. "You drink this brown liquid so often, I wonder if it powers your species." Elliot laughed nervously. "Something like that. It's called cocoa. It's comfort in a cup." He offered one to her. She hesitated, then accepted. Her long fingers wrapped around it carefully, curious. They stood there for a while in silence, watching the stars. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. His mouth went dry. Every voice in his head told him don't do it, but he did it anyway. "Lyra," he said suddenly, "would you like to go out with me?" The words echoed softly in the dome. He almost wished he could grab them back out of the air. Her eyes widened a little, her markings flickering with gold. Surprise. Then she tilted her head in that curious way the Sarai did when they were thinking deeply. "Go out?" she repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. "Yeah," he said quickly, his voice trembling. "Like dinner maybe? Or, time together, not as co-workers." There was a long silence, too long. He felt his stomach drop. Then, to his shock, she smiled. It was soft and warm. "Humans," she said quietly. "You are such fearless creatures." Her markings glowed faint pink now, a color he hadn't seen before. Elliot blinked, unsure what that meant. "Is that a yes?" he asked, half afraid to breathe. She looked back at the stars, her reflection shining in the glass. "Meet me here in 2 days at this same time. Bring your cocoa." He felt the air rush out of his lungs as relief washed over him. "So that's a yes?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "It's something better than no." And just like that, Elliot felt the stars outside weren't the only things glowing that night. 2 days later, Elliot found himself standing in the observation dome before the stars again. He carried a small tray with 2 steaming cups of cocoa, just like he promised. But this time he also had a small flower growing in a clear human seed pod. He wasn't sure why he brought it. It felt strange to give a flower to a Sarai, but somehow it felt important. Lyra was already there. She leaned against the railing, reading from a holographic tablet, her silver eyes reflecting the glittering stars outside. When she noticed him, her markings shifted faintly violet, then pale gold, as if she were happy to see him. "You're early," she said, her voice soft, almost musical. "I didn't want to be late," Elliot replied, putting the tray down carefully. "And I brought something." She looked at the flower, tilting her head in curiosity. "You grew life. Just to share it with me?" He shrugged, feeling shy. "I guess that's kind of what humans do. We like to give things that mean something." Her markings flickered, glowing a delicate silver blue. "It is beautiful." "Thank you, Elliot." They sat down together on a low bench near the glass, sipping cocoa in silence. At first it felt awkward, both of them unsure how to begin this new chapter of their connection. But slowly they started talking. About work, about Earth, about Sarai customs. Elliot explained that humans sometimes collected objects for memories, for feelings, for moments. Lyra listened, fascinated. "I think your species is brave," she said finally, "not just to explore the stars, but to feel so openly." Elliot's chest tightened at her words. "I think your species is amazing too," he said quietly. "You see the universe differently. You notice things most humans don't. Colors and emotions, the small details. I wish I could see the world like you do." Lyra smiled softly. "Maybe you can in a way." She leaned closer, her fingers brushing the edge of the flower pod. "Among my people, we do not give flowers often. Instead, we share something else. Something far more personal." Elliot raised an eyebrow. "Something personal?" Her markings flickered gold and violet at the same time. A strange mix of excitement and nervousness. "We share memories. Not visions, not words, but the experience itself. A memory of our lives, our world. Only with those we truly trust." Elliot's heart skipped. "You mean, like showing me your home?" Lyra's gaze drifted to the stars beyond the glass. "Yes, Saraven, my home planet. I have not seen it in 12 years. I never thought I would show it to anyone." Elliot's hands trembled slightly. He wanted to reach for hers, but he wasn't sure if that was allowed. I'd be honored," he whispered. Slowly, Lyra took a small crystal device from her belt and placed it on the bench. A soft hum filled the air, and the stars outside seemed to dim as a new light emerged. Elliot blinked. The room shimmered and changed. Before him stretched a world unlike anything he had ever imagined. Vast green plains glowed faintly under twin suns. Rivers shimmered with an iridescent light that seemed alive, flowing in patterns that danced and shifted. Crystal towers rose from the ground, reflecting the light like diamonds, bending and refracting the sky itself. Birds, or creatures that resembled birds, flew in perfect harmony, leaving trails of sparkling colors behind them. Elliot could feel his breath catch. "It's beautiful." Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "This is Saraven. The air, the rivers, the cities. This is part of me, and now part of me is sharing it with you." He didn't move. He just let the memory wash over him. He could feel the warmth of the sun on his face, the gentle brush of wind across the plains, and the happiness of a young Lyra running freely among her people. The colors of her markings glowed bright violet, reflecting pride and trust. When it ended, Elliot blinked, overwhelmed. Tears threatened to fall. I can't believe you let me see that. I'll never forget it." Lyra's marking softened to silver blue. "You must promise me one thing, Elliot. You must remember it and carry it not as a burden, but as a gift, I promise," he said immediately, voice thick. "I'll carry it always." They sat together in silence, sipping their cocoa. Outside, the stars were calm again. Inside, Elliot's heart felt like it was stretching across the galaxy, reaching toward something new, something bright. For the first time, he realized that sharing life or memories was more than understanding. It was trust, and in that moment he felt that trust in a way he had never felt before. Elliot finally looked at her, eyes shining. "Lyra, thank you. Not just for showing me your world, but for letting me in. For trusting me." Lyra's faint smile deepened. "And thank you, Elliot, for being brave enough to ask." And somewhere in the quiet hum of the orbital station, two very different beings from different worlds shared a simple human moment: coffee, a flower, and the promise of something extraordinary. After the memory-sharing night, Elliot and Lyra felt closer than ever. They spent long hours together, walking through the quiet corridors of Harmony Station, sipping cocoa in the observation dome, and sharing small details about their worlds. Elliot taught Lyra human jokes and the strange way humans measured time with days, hours, and minutes. Lyra, in turn, taught him about Sarai colors and emotions, how a simple shift from violet to gold could speak louder than words. Elliot found himself laughing more, feeling more alive than he had in years. He would catch her watching him sometimes, her silver eyes soft and attentive, and he felt a warmth in his chest that made him forget all the work he had to do, the machines he had to fix. Being near her was easy, natural, but happiness is rarely without shadow. Whispers began to spread quietly among humans on the station. Some said it was strange for a human to be so close to a Sarai. Others warned Elliot that Lyra could not truly be part of his world. He overheard snippets in the hallways. He's chasing something he'll never have, or she's not human. This could be dangerous for him. Elliot tried to ignore it. He told himself it didn't matter what others thought. But deep down, a little worry gnawed at him. Then came the Sarai Council. They communicated quickly and quietly, subtle but firm. Elliot noticed Lyra's markings flickering more than usual, shifting between pale gold and muted violet. She became quieter, less open, and sometimes she didn't come to the observation dome when they had planned. One day, Elliot went to her lab, hopeful for a shared cup of cocoa and a chance to laugh together. But she was standing alone, her hands clasped over her chest, markings dimmed to almost gray. She didn't smile when she saw him. "Lyra," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Are you okay?" She looked at him, eyes flickering with sadness. "Elliot, I think we must stop seeing each other, at least for now." The words hit him like a cold vacuum of space. "Stop, why? Did I do something wrong?" "No," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "You've done nothing wrong. It's the Council. They say our closeness could create tension between humans and Sarai. They worry about misunderstandings, conflicts. I cannot ignore their warnings." Elliot's chest tightened, the stars outside the viewport suddenly feeling very far away. "So, we're supposed to just stop just like that?" Lyra shook her head slowly. "I do not want to hurt you, Elliot, but my people, they act quickly. And if we continue, it may bring consequences you cannot imagine." He felt anger rising, but it wasn't aimed at her. It was at the rules, the fear, the invisible chains that threatened to pull them apart. I don't care about consequences. I care about you. That's all I care about." Her markings flickered a soft violet gold, the colors of sadness and worry. She stepped closer, a trembling hand reaching out but not touching him. "Elliot, you are brave and kind. That is why I trusted you with Saravan. But bravery alone cannot fight all barriers. Sometimes, it is not enough." He swallowed hard, fighting the lump in his throat. "Then I'll wait," he said, voice low but steady. "I'll wait as long as you need. I won't give up on you." For a moment, her markings brightened, a small flash of violet and gold, a mix of gratitude and sorrow. Then she nodded quietly. "Perhaps time will decide. Perhaps the stars themselves will help us find a way." They parted that day with no hugs, no final words beyond what they had already said. Elliot walked through the hallways, his hands empty. The flower pot he had brought now sitting on the lab table untouched. Everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of her. The silver glint of metal, the glow of panels, the hum of machinery. And each one made his chest ache. Days passed, and the distance between them grew. He focused on repairs and maintenance, crawling through ducts and calibrating power cores, but every quiet moment, every glance at the stars, reminded him of her absence. Sometimes he imagined seeing her markings glowing softly, looking at him through the viewport. Sometimes he thought he even saw her reflection in the glass, only to find it was empty hallways behind him. Yet despite the whispers, the warnings, and the cold distance, Elliot never stopped thinking of her. Every night he sat by the observation dome, staring into the endless stars, holding on to the memory of that night she had shared Saravan with him. That memory, the gift of her world, was the only thing that kept him going. He didn't know when, or if, they would see each other again. But Elliot knew one thing: he would wait. He would wait for her, for the moment when barriers fell, when rules bent, and when courage, human courage, could bridge the distance between worlds. And deep inside he believed that one day, Lyra would return to him, and when she did, the stars themselves would witness something extraordinary. Weeks passed since Lyra had pulled back, and Elliot felt the emptiness more each day. He buried himself in work, fixing coolant lines, recalibrating sensors, repairing broken machinery. But every clank of metal, every flicker of lights reminded him of the silence she had left behind. The observation dome had become his sanctuary. He would sit there for hours, staring at the stars, hoping, imagining, wondering if she was thinking of him too. Then, it happened. A sharp alarm rang through Harmony Station, red lights flashing in every corridor. A deep, urgent tone echoed, "Radiation leak detected. Research Pod 6 compromised." Elliot's stomach dropped. He knew that pod. Lyra and her team had been assigned to analyze high-energy particle fields there just that morning. Without hesitation, he sprinted down the corridors, ignoring his own safety protocols. Around every corner, warning lights flickered and the air filled with the sharp metallic tang of ozone. The station groaned, shuddering under the stress. The distant hum of engines became a roar in his ears. He reached the containment section and saw her, Lyra, standing alone, her hands working furiously on a control panel. Her markings glowed bright red, fear and urgency. The radiation field crackled around her, arcs of energy dancing dangerously close. "Lyra!" he shouted over the alarms. She looked up, eyes wide. "Elliot, stay back." "It's too dangerous." But Elliot didn't stop. He ran straight into the fray, heart pounding. "I'm not leaving you," he yelled. They worked together, shouting instructions, rerouting power, and overriding damaged panels. Sparks flew across the floor, striking the metal walls with sharp clangs. Elliot could feel the heat on his skin, his hands trembling as he adjusted the main override. Lyra's silver eyes met his, and for a brief moment the chaos fell away. They were just two beings, side by side, fighting for each other. "You shouldn't be here," she screamed, dodging an electrical surge. "Neither should you," he yelled back, ducking under a falling beam. Time became meaningless. The alarms, the red lights, the crackling energy, all of it blurred together. Elliot's hands moved automatically, guided by years of experience and sheer determination. He watched her move with precision, her markings shifting rapidly as she concentrated on stabilizing the failing reactor. Then, a loud explosion rattled the pod. Elliot was thrown against the wall. Pain shot through him, but he scrambled to his feet. Lyra was still standing, her markings flaring violet red as she tried to stabilize the final control rod. "Elliot, it's too unstable," she shouted. He shook his head, ignoring the pain. "We can fix it. Together!" With one final effort, they rerouted the energy, guided the reactor back into stability, and shut down the critical surge. The red alarms dimmed to a calm blue. The immediate danger was over. Elliot stumbled forward, exhausted, and Lyra rushed to steady him. You're hurt," she whispered, worry washing over her features. He tried to smile through the pain, brushing it off. "I'm fine, as long as you're safe." Her markings glowed a gentle violet, softer than ever. She knelt beside him, pressing a hand to his chest. Her touch was warm, soothing, and Elliot felt a strange calm spread through him, even as his strength wavered. "I thought I might lose you," she said softly, almost to herself. I couldn't let that happen." Elliot caught her gaze, his breath shallow. "You won't," he whispered. "Not while I can still stand. Not while I can still fight." The station finally stabilized, alarms returning to normal, and medics arrived to help. But for Elliot, nothing mattered except that she was alive, that they had survived, that somehow, against all odds, they had faced the danger together. Later, when he was helped to medbay, he couldn't stop thinking about her, the silver-eyed alien who had trusted him with her life. And when he closed his eyes that night, staring at the ceiling of the medbay, he realized something he hadn't admitted before. He would go through any danger, any chaos, any storm, just to see her smile again. And somewhere deep in the quiet of the station, Elliot knew this. The stars weren't just distant lights anymore. They were witnesses. Witnesses to courage, to trust, and to the beginning of something extraordinary between a human and a Sarai. The silence of the stars felt less empty now, because he had seen her fight and she had seen him stand. Together they had faced the impossible, and Elliot vowed silently that no rules, no counsel, no fear could ever take that from him. Elliot woke slowly, the steady beep of a medbay monitor greeting him. Pain radiated through his muscles and his head felt heavy as if stars themselves were pressing down on him. For a moment he didn't remember where he was until he saw her, Lyra, sitting quietly beside the bed. Her markings glowed softly violet, a calmness after the chaos. "You're awake," she whispered, relief filling her voice. Elliot tried to smile, but it came out weak. "Barely," he said, wincing as he shifted. "What happened?" "You were exposed to minor radiation," Lyra explained carefully. "The medics say you'll recover, but I thought I might lose you out there." Her words struck deeper than the pain in his body. Elliot's chest tightened, and he realized something he had avoided admitting. He had been terrified, too. Terrified of losing her. Terrified that he might fail. He wanted to reach for her hand, to feel her near him, but he stayed still, afraid he might break the fragile moment. He started, voice hoarse. "I never wanted to leave you. Not for a second." Lyra leaned closer, her markings flickering with gentle gold and violet. "And yet you risked yourself to save me. Humans, your bravery is unlike anything I have ever seen." Elliot shook his head, laughing weakly. "I didn't think about bravery. I couldn't let you get hurt. Not you, not someone who trusted me so much." Her eyes glistened with emotion. You saved my life. And now, Elliot, I want to give you something. Something I have never shared with anyone." He frowned, confused but curious. "Something like Saravan again?" Lyra shook her head. She reached into a small pocket in her suit and pulled out a crystal device. "No, this is more. What I share now cannot just be seen or remembered. It must be felt." Elliot watched as she placed her hand on the device, then carefully on his chest. Warmth spread through him, unlike anything he had felt before. It wasn't just heat, it was light, it was memory, it was life itself flowing into him. Suddenly he was standing on alien plains, feeling the wind brushing across his face. He could see the twin suns of Saravan, feel the wet glow of the rivers, hear laughter, so much laughter, of young Lyra playing among her people. Tears ran down Elliot's cheeks, but he didn't try to stop them. He could feel every moment she shared, joy, sorrow, fear, hope. Every memory carried the essence of her life, her world, her trust. He realized with a shock that this was not just a gift. It was a bond, stronger than anything words could create. When it ended, Elliot gasped, overwhelmed. He was back in the medbay, Lyra sitting beside him, her markings dim but warm. I feel it," he whispered. "All of it. It's like I've been there with you. I can't believe you did that for me." "I did," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Because you saved me. You gave me courage in a moment of fear. And now I give you a piece of me, part of my life, part of Saravan, part of my trust." Elliot reached out, finally taking her hand in his. Her skin was soft, warm, alive with faint shifting colors that mirrored her emotions. "Lyra, I don't know if I can ever repay this." "You don't need to," she said, her voice gentle. "Just remember that courage and trust can cross any distance, any rule, any world. You carry part of me now, and that is enough." They sat together in silence, hands entwined, the medbay glowing softly around them. Elliot's heart felt heavy, full and alive all at once. He realized that in that moment, nothing else mattered. The whispers of the council, the warnings from others, the distance between human and Sarai, they all faded. For the first time, he understood what it meant to truly connect with another being. To be human was to feel, to act, to take risks. And he had done all that, not for glory, not for approval, but for someone he cared about. And now, in return, Lyra had shared herself. Not just her world, but her life. Elliot whispered almost to himself, "I'll carry this. Always." Lyra's markings glimmered softly, a quiet smile forming on her face. "And I will trust you. Always." Outside the medbay, the station hummed quietly, lights blinking like distant stars. But inside, two very different beings from very different worlds sat together in warmth and understanding. A human and a Sarai, proving that courage, trust, and love could cross any boundary. And in that quiet moment, Elliot felt a simple, powerful truth. To be human was not just to live, it was to reach out, to risk, to care, and sometimes to hold the universe itself in your hands, even if only for one other soul. After the crisis, the station slowly returned to its usual hum. Alarms no longer screamed. Lights flickered back to calm, and the corridors felt safer. But for Elliot and Lyra, nothing felt the same. Everything had changed. What had been quiet longing and subtle glances became a bond that neither of them could ignore or hide. Elliot stayed in the medbay for a few more hours, letting his body recover, but his mind refused to rest. He kept thinking of the moment Lyra had pressed her hand to his chest, of the warmth, the memories, the life she had shared with him. He realized more clearly than ever how much he cared for her, and how much he wanted to stay by her side. When she came back to check on him again, her markings flickered soft violet, a color he had come to recognize as calm, thoughtful, and tender all at once. "You're awake again," she said quietly, a faint smile on her lips. "I'm fine now," Elliot said, trying to sound casual, though his chest felt like it might burst. "Thanks to you." Lyra shook her head, sitting down beside him. "It was not only me who acted, you. You risked everything for me, Elliot. That courage, that humanity, it saved us both." He felt warmth spread through him at her words. Humans were not perfect, and he certainly was not. But hearing her say that, he had done something right, something meaningful, made him proud in a way that had nothing to do with machines or metals. "I don't understand," he said softly. "Why would you share something so personal, so important?" Her eyes softened. "Because I trust you. Humans, you feel deeply, you act even when afraid, and you care without needing to understand everything. That is why I chose to share with you a part of my life. Because I could see it reflected in you, in your actions, in your heart." Elliot swallowed, his throat dry. "I don't know if I can ever repay that. Part of you, part of Saraven. It's in me now. How can I ever thank you for that?" She smiled faintly, her markings shifting gold and violet. "You do not need to thank me. You only need to remember it. Carry it with you. Let it guide you, comfort you, and remind you of trust. That is enough." He took a deep breath, reaching for her hand. When their fingers touched, he felt the faint hum of her life energy still lingering in him. He had carried pieces of Saraven, pieces of her, in himself, and in return he offered something she had never asked for, his unwavering presence. "Then I will carry it always," he said, eyes meeting hers. "And I'll be here for you, whatever comes next." Her markings glowed softly, brightening with a mix of relief and affection. "You are brave, Elliot. Perhaps braver than even your kind can fully understand." They sat together in silence for a long time, letting the hum of the medbay and the distant glow of the stars fill the room. Words were not needed. The bond between them had grown stronger than anything spoken aloud. Eventually, Elliot broke the quiet. "Do you think people will understand? The council, the humans, our connection?" Lyra looked out the viewport, watching the distant stars drift past. "Perhaps some will eventually. Perhaps some never will. But it does not matter. What matters is the trust we have built, the lives we have saved, and the courage we have shown. That is far more important than opinions or rules." Elliot nodded slowly, feeling a deep, steady calm settle in him. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and yet here he was. Alive, stronger, connected to something greater than himself. A being from another world, who had chosen to share not only her life but her trust. "You changed me," he said quietly, almost to himself. "You showed me what it means to care so fully, to give without hesitation." Lyra's markings glimmered soft violet, then gold. "And you reminded me that trust, courage, and connection can exist even between different worlds. You are a human, Elliot, and that is a gift I will never forget." Outside the medbay, the stars stretched endlessly, quiet witnesses to the bond forming between human and Sarai. Inside, Elliot and Lyra sat side by side, hands intertwined, hearts beating in quiet harmony. No words could fully express what they felt. No rules could undo what they had shared. And in that moment, Elliot realized something simple yet profound. Being human was not just about survival. It was about bravery, trust, and the willingness to open your heart, even to someone from a different world. He looked at her again, and she looked back, their eyes holding unspoken promises. Whatever challenges came next, whatever voices opposed them, they had each other, and that was enough. The stars outside continued to shine, distant yet brilliant, reflecting the quiet, unstoppable light of two souls who had chosen to bridge the space between their worlds. The day came when Elliot was finally cleared to leave medbay. His body still ached from the radiation exposure and the explosion, but his spirit felt stronger than ever. He had faced danger, risked his life, and survived. And in the process he had seen Lyra, not just as a Sarai, not just as a colleague, but as someone who had trusted him with a part of herself that no one else had ever seen. Lyra met him at their usual spot in the observation dome. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass, glittering like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Her markings shifted gently, soft violet fading into delicate gold as she approached. "You're finally out of medbay," she said softly, smiling. "I was beginning to think the stars had swallowed you." Elliot laughed, a little shakily, but it felt good. "They tried," he said, "but I wouldn't let them take you too." Her markings glimmered brighter, violet and gold intertwining. "You risked everything for me, Elliot, your courage. It is remarkable. Humans truly are extraordinary beings." Elliot felt his heart swell. "I didn't do it to be extraordinary. I did it because I care about you. That's all that matters to me." Lyra tilted her head, her silver eyes soft and wide. "And that is enough. That is everything." They stood together, hands brushing, fingers finding each other naturally. The warmth of her touch spread through him, and he realized that no distance, no danger, and no rules could ever break what had been built between them. "Do you remember the first memory you shared with me?" Lyra asked quietly. "Saravan, the rivers, the twin suns." Elliot nodded, his eyes shining. "I carry it with me always, and now, I carry you too." Her markings flickered with a gentle glow, almost shy, as if she had never allowed herself to feel so openly before. "And I carry you. Your courage, your trust, your humanity. It is unlike anything I have experienced before." They walked slowly to the center of the dome, where the stars stretched across the black sky in infinite patterns. Elliot realized something then. He was not just a human technician on an orbital station anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that spanned worlds and species. His humanity, the part that felt deeply, risked everything, and reached out to others, was the bridge that connected them. Lyra turned to him, her markings glowing softly with gold and violet. "Elliot, I have a question." He raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead. Will you continue this journey with me? Not just tonight, not just in secret, but openly, wherever our lives take us?" Elliot felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. His heart raced, swelling with gratitude, love, and hope. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "I will, wherever it leads. Whatever it takes, I'll be with you." A soft, radiant glow spread across her markings, lighting up her face with warmth and happiness. She reached out, holding his hands fully in hers. "Then let us create memories together, Elliot. Not only mine, not only yours, but ours." The two of them stood there, looking out at the stars, hand in hand. Outside, the vastness of space seemed endless and cold, yet inside they carried warmth, trust, and courage. A human and a Sarai from different worlds, connected not by proximity but by heart, by choice, by bravery. Elliot realized something profound. To be human was not just to survive, to work, to exist. To be human was to reach out, to care, to risk, to love, and to trust even when the odds seemed impossible. And in doing so, humans could build bridges across worlds, hearts and species proving that the essence of humanity was not confined to a single planet. Lyra smiled again, softly, and pressed her forehead to his. "The stars may witness many things," she whispered, "but what we have created, this bond, is something only we will carry together." Elliot closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of her words and the warmth of her trust sink in. When he opened them, the stars were still out there, infinite and glittering, but he felt no smallness, no fear. He felt hope, connection, and a kind of joy that only comes when someone trusts you completely. "Let's make our memories, Lyra," he said softly. "Let's prove that courage, trust, and love can cross any distance. That's what it means, to be human." Her markings glowed warmly in agreement. "Yes, together, Elliot. Together." And so, standing side by side in the observation dome, two beings from different worlds embraced the truth of their bond. The universe stretched out around them, vast and infinite, but for the first time it didn't feel lonely. It felt full of hope, light, and the extraordinary power of two hearts choosing each other, across species, across stars, across worlds. The stars outside continued to shine, but inside the dome, a human and a Sarai proved that bravery, trust, and love could reach farther than any galaxy. and stronger than any obstacle, and that was enough.